What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Rambling Garage. Just starting this video off before I head to work, so I was a little tired. I did just wake up, but I'm super excited to start this video. It has been a long time kind of in the making here, just because I have been slacking. But we finally have the car that kind of started the channel, the 66 AMC Rambler Rebel. 327 car with the Holley EFI on it. Brought this car home yesterday. I trailered it home because it had been leaking coolant and I couldn't figure out where it was from. And so I brought it home, tried to fill it up with some water and just let it heat up, and it actually ended up boiling over with the radiator cap on, and did a coolant or a head gasket test. We'll go over here, I'll show you what I got here. Did a head gasket test with this Maddox leak detector, and this stuff turned yellow or green right away. I'll put a picture of that up. So we have some combustion leak into the cooling system, which I kind of thought we might have. We have been showing some signs of high pressure in the radiator for a little while now. So what we're going to be doing over the course of the next few days is starting to pull this apart. I haven't pulled the intake and stuff off with the Holley on there yet. It shouldn't be too bad. Let me lift this guy off. There's our sniper. If we look back here, we have a fuel line, so we'll need to drop the pressure out of there. Shouldn't be a big deal. We got the outlet and then the return, or the inlet and the return, sorry. We have 3 wires coming out through there, and they run back to the back of the firewall. There are just quick disconnect plugs there, and then we have one more wire right here that runs down to the O2, and I believe there's also a quick disconnect wire down at the O2. So that shouldn't be too hard to get off, a little more than just your carb. We have the linkage and fuel inlet, but it shouldn't be a big deal. Then we're going to need to go down and pull off the exhaust manifolds. Not too hard. The bolts are right back there. And then we just have our bolts up here. So not too bad. It is a little tight with the steering shaft there, but really shouldn't be that bad to pop those off. I think I might send those out to get them powder coated silver while we're working on this. One thing I am excited about while we're doing this is I'm going to be moving this is the temp sensor for the Holley. I'm going to move that to the other side here. So I don't know how well you can see, but there should be, probably end up going back there, where there's that little plug down there. You see that? It's not focusing. There we go. I'm going to move it down there, and then I'm going to move the factory sensor back to here. If we look somewhere, I have wiring for that factory sensor. I'm sure I tucked it away somewhere, but I'll have to find it. It might just be that guy. So I have that. We'll add that factory sensor back so I can get a temp display in the car. Also, while we're doing all this, I really need to bleed brakes. I don't have brake lights right now. Brakes work, but no brake lights. So there's some air in here. So once I get all of that off, I'll have to pull off all the cooling, the alternator. There's a lot that needs to come off to do this, but it really shouldn't be all that bad once we get moving. So if I look down in here, I see some coolant resting in there. And you can see it was kind of wet on the other side. I kind of think that's where my leak was coming from all winter. So I do want to pull that off, take a look at the water pump anyways. So just get an idea of what it looks like. So I'm going to start wrenching on this stuff, start taking this stuff apart. We can probably have these heads off relatively quick. These heads are very heavy. They got to be 80 pounds a piece. So they are kind of hard to get in and out. So we'll see how that goes. I have a feeling this one's going to be worse yet. So it's kind of tucked back in there. But I may make some straps of sorts, just using the mounting holes for the intake manifold and the exhaust manifolds so that I can kind of grab them and lower them in. That shouldn't be that bad. So guys, I've made some slow progress over the long weekend. Haven't really been trying to jump into this too quickly. Just because I want to tackle some stuff as we're doing it. Like the strap bars got some or the fender braces there have some paint that's flaking. Those are actually not even the correct color. That one looks good, but again, not the correct color. Strut tower's got a little flaking paint. Our exhaust manifolds, when we took them out, you can kind of see down on the floor there, the paint just came off in layers, so I repainted them. Fully expect that to happen again, but I did repaint them here. So did that. Exhaust fell all the way onto the ground. I thought I had a hanger or two back here, so I think I'm gonna cut it somewhere over there and clamp it back on. I'd like this to be a little more easy to pull off. So ideally I have a couple places that I can pull it off and just remove the muffler. I can pull off like the midsection, and then I can pull off the Y pipe up here. So I'm gonna do that while I'm doing this. I'm eventually gonna go true duals with bullet mufflers. I have the mufflers for it already. I just need to find a time to do that and decide whether or not I want to do headers on this thing and have somebody custom make me headers instead of those things. So that's where we're at right now, and we'll be proceeding here shortly. I just got to pull out the head bolts, and then we can pull off the heads. Head bolts are pretty easy. These are already out for the rocker shafts. We got 1, 2. This is a stud that goes into a bolt, so I had trouble with that before. I didn't realize that was a 2-piece, so I was having trouble torquing them. Shouldn't be an issue. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 bolts to go. So 11 bolts on each side, then I can pop those off. We're gonna make a little coolant mess, I would assume, but then we can kind of check everything out. I want to take all of the lifters out and take a look at them as well. So we are getting places. It looks, try not to dump stuff in here, defeat the purpose of having it there, but it looks very, very clean inside, as it should for a recent build, newer engine. So everything's looking good. I'm happy. No bent push rods, and all the lifters seem to be good from what I can tell from here. We'll pull them out individually and see how they look one by one. All right, guys, made a nice little mess here, but got the driver's side head off, and we can just look in there, and all the cross hatchings look real healthy from what I can see. Piston tops look pretty similar across the board, outside of some of these had coolant in them, so I was scraping that out, and they cleaned up a little bit. But look, overall pretty good across the board. So we're gonna copper spray the new head gasket, get this cleaned up, and then put that back on. All right, guys, so we got the other head off. Just looking in here, see if we can add some light. Things are looking pretty good. Cylinders all look good. Cross hatching is good. I don't see anything real concerning. I do see some vertical wear marks in there. I don't think I can feel those with my finger though. So I don't know if those are just like stains. That's where the skirt would. No, I don't think that's where the skirt would be. I don't know. But they don't look too deep. I don't know if they're there prior. I can't recall. I don't think they were. But let's keep an eye on them. Some vertical wear marks. None of these pistons look like the other side where we had coolant leaking into the cylinder. If we look on this side, I didn't mention it earlier, but that number, that should be 1, 2, that's 5. It looks like it had coolant in the cylinder. It's a little off-colored. And there looks like maybe a little combustion leak there of sorts. So I'm not sure. The heads themselves look really, really good. I didn't see anything that stood out. So I'm gonna get the surface cleaned up with a roll-lock, little bristle brush. I'll show you guys that, and I'll show you how I do it. I'm gonna stuff all these cylinders full of rags so they don't get messy. And we'll get that cleaned up and we'll get everything put back together. So I grabbed myself one of these roll-lock discs. This is a white one, which is supposed to be for aluminum. These discs can do some surface damage to metal if you get like the green or the yellow ones and you're not cautious. This one I shouldn't have an issue with. You're supposed to use it on a die grinder. I have a little M12 Milwaukee Dremel that has a 1/8 inch chuck. This is 1/4 inch. So we're gonna have to make this work. But it should work pretty well for just like some of the areas like this. Just doing a little cleanup. You can see it's a little dirty, but
that was basically no pressure. So I put a little pressure in it. It's going to clean out all this stuff pretty quick, I think, and shouldn't impact that surface at all. I don't have anything. This isn't going to take off any metal, so I'm not too concerned about filling up any holes. There might be a little dust, but I'm going to vacuum it all out and blow it out, so we should be okay. I'm going to keep the valley here covered up. We'll just have to worry about cleaning out the pistons and stuff. So I'm going to get started on here. I'll be back with you guys in a few short moments, and we'll see how it looks. So this here is about 5 minutes with that roll lock. See some of the stuff down here that we can still catch with the nail. It's some buildup that honestly probably won't really affect the head gasket as long as it's not around this little ring here, but I'm gonna get that all cleaned up. We're gonna get this perfect, make it perfectly flat and flush, and no gunk to mess up with this head gasket. I'm trying to stay out of the cylinders. I'm hitting them a little bit over here, but it's fine. I'm just cleaning up some of that carbon gunk. Outside of that, I think things are starting to look pretty good just on this first half. My drill is a little big to get back there, so I'm going to use my right angle drill to finish it off. I did a little more over here, which is not as messy, and it cleans up so quick. So this side is going to be real easy. This side will take a little longer, but not long at all. So we should be done here shortly and be ready to put that gasket on and get the head back on. Alright guys, we are a few days later again, and we have both sides of the deck cleaned. This looks dirty. It's like stained. I can't feel any of this with my finger, my fingernail, anything. So everything here is all smooth. Sorry, put my hand in the way, but everything down through here is all smooth. Suck some of the bolt holes out to get all of the coolant and stuff out of there. Just use vacuum with the filter out and then tape the straw to the end. It worked fine. Probably going to do that one more time before we put bolts in. Same deal over here. This side's a little cleaner for whatever reason, but looks good. It's all smooth. We're ready to put heads on. Gaskets are over here. Some copper spray on them. Did that this morning, and it's about 1 o'clock now, so they've been sitting there for a few hours. Those should be good to go. These I need to clean up a little bit on the intake side, but I'll probably do that after I get them back on. Surface is all clean and smooth. Gonna wipe everything down one last time with brake clean and then put it on the car. But the same deal here. They're nice and clean. They look dirty, but they're really just stained. I can't feel any of this. Kind of like the block. So I'm gonna put the gaskets on and then the heads on, and then we'll be have the hard part out of the way. We'll do the torque sequence and get everything done. Alright, so heads are back on. I torqued everything down to roughly 60 foot-pounds. Just working on cleaning up some of the intake manifold surface here. Looks pretty good on this side, but a little more messy on that side, so I'm just cleaning it up. I did put a Protronix Igniter 3 in there. I'm going to have a Flamethrower 3 coil as well. We'll have a separate video on doing that installation. One other thing I am doing is I am bypassing the hose that I had running over the manifold before. So we're going to have the Holley Sniper temp sensor is going to be in on that side, and then we're going to run the factory sensor on this side, and we'll be able to plug it in again and get our temp on the dash. So that'll be beneficial and kind of nice, and then I can keep the Sniper tucked away when I'm trying to monitor temps. But just going to keep cleaning everything up. We'll get that intake manifold on. I don't have the right sensor for the Holley. I think it came with it. I just got to figure out where I put it. So once I got that, I'll put that in place, and we're getting there. We are close, and repainted the thermostat crossover pipe just to make that look a little nicer. That's over sitting in the yard still. So got some odds and ends to do yet here. So we continue to make progress. I kind of forget where I left off here, but main things we have left are just to get the intake on, and we have to put in the water pump, or the thermostat crossover, which I have here, freshly painted again, all cleaned up, ready to go. Intake is over there, getting a fresh coat of paint on it. So as we were going through things, I took a little extra time and did some of the paint stuff. So the manifolds are cleaned up again. Once we get the top end on, well, my goal is to have the manifolds done today and get the intake and the thermostat crossover on, and then it should really be just lining up the exhaust, which I think we're gonna have to cut to line up. Just without a lift, it's too hard to do it all in one piece.
which is fine. I kind of wanted it to be cut in separate pieces down there anyways, because it's hard to line up, and then I can take it off in sections as well. So that's that. Only other thing is I got to figure out where the heck I put my flamethrower 3 coil. It's around here somewhere, I'm sure. But outside of that, we're getting there. Should have about another hour, and we should be ready to line that exhaust up, and then from there we can fire it up. So one other thing I'm doing, I painted the shock towers here. I don't know if you recall earlier, but it was splotchy. There were black dots everywhere from it being too thin. So threw another coat of paint on there, and while doing that, I did the fender brace as well, which was pretty splotchy. So things are going to look quite a bit better in here, and I'm looking forward to it. I did also get the sensors, so that's a factory sensor right there that'll plug in here once I have the manifolds in. And then the new Holley sniper is right there. So we'll have the Holley and the dash working, which will be nice. I've never had that since I got the Holley, so it'll be nice to have both at once. Only other thing is I gotta replace the strut rod bushing down there. I don't know if you can see that little stud, just barely, but I had a rubber one on one side because I had lost part of the poly one day. So just doing that. It's coming together. Next update should be a good one.
And a little more progress. We're not far at all. Just waiting on some sealant for the thermostat here. The housing has seen some better days. I tried to scuff it up decent, make it look all right, but it's just not flat. So I need some sealant. We'll get that put on. Once that's on, we can get the alternator on. We'll get the power steering pump on. Also need to get the manifolds on. The reason I haven't done that is because I don't know how well you can see. I don't think you can see it all, but there's some leftover gasket from when I took them off that I should have cleaned up when I had the heads off, but I just failed to do so. So we're gonna clean that up. Shouldn't be a big deal. Once that's cleaned up, we'll finish routing the igniter wires and get the coil on, and then we'll get the EFI back on, and we should be good to start it up. We do have to get the Y pipe on. I'm gonna be cutting that and clamping it, as I told you guys earlier. That shouldn't be a big deal, but this thing should be running here in the next couple of hours. All right, guys, we are 95% of the way back together. Obviously got the sniper back on there, got all of our stuff hooked up. Have the factory coolant temp sensor hooked up, and then we have the Holley sniper over here, which is awesome. I have the people that did the exhaust put in some bolts that were kind of incorrect. This is a little long for the top part of the exhaust manifold, so I need to go get one that's about 1/4 of an inch shorter, and then we'll be done with that. And then if you look back down in there, I don't know how well you can see it, but our exhaust isn't hung up yet. That should be pretty easy. I'm going to make a cut right behind the O2, probably about 6 inches behind, and I'm going to line up that Y pipe, get it all bolted up, and then I'm going to clamp it on, and I'll probably eventually do that in the spot further back just so that I can take this thing off when I want. But outside of that, everything's looking good. Everything is in place. I ended up keeping the 180-degree thermostat in there. I think it cleans it up a little bit, a little less going on without the coolant hose going over the valve cover there, so I like that. Outside of that, I'm thinking everything looks good. I do have to put on a fender brace. That fender brace is going to come off so I can repaint it. That is actually the incorrect shade of, I think it's the incorrect shade of gold. It looks pretty dang good from here, so I'm not sure. But it is a little thin in spots, so that's something that I'll do eventually. Yeah, that's about it. I think we're going to try and start it up here without an O2 just to make sure everything sounds good, and then we'll get under it and take care of that exhaust. And there it is, guys. She runs good. I do have a few minor things to take care of, but I'm going to wrap this video up because it's been going on over the course of a couple of weeks, and I really want to get you guys a Rambler video out, which means there's going to be more coming once I get the exhaust finalized, all bolted up. I have that other bolt that I got to do on the manifold over there, but it sounded like it was running pretty good. It was running a little, it was searching for idle a little bit, and that's just because it's bouncing between rich and lean, not having the O2 plugged in yet. The sniper just didn't know what to do. So once we get that all taken care of, it'll be good to go, but I'm going to carry that on into another video. Also, I have a very leaky power steering pump, and I put some Lucas power steering stop stuff in there. I'm curious to see if that helps, because I really don't want to pull that out. It actually doesn't look that bad compared to what we just did, but I still don't want to do it, so we'll see. But everything's looking good here, so I'm gonna start a new video, top her off with coolant, do all that stuff, but we're gonna put this one up online for you guys to check out. And obviously that means we have more stuff coming. Also gonna be doing the AC in the GTA. I wanna get some driving videos of the GTA 2, some more of the WS6. We did some last year, but there's a lot more to be told with those cars. And yeah, so there it is, guys. Got a few tidy up items on this thing to do, but I think it's looking good, sounding good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Sorry for the long video, and I'll see you in the next one.